Get
I don't know if
away
you heard
whenever.
that. Did you hear that?
No, I didn't hear that.
You didn't hear the ooh.
Oh, I hear that. What is it?
I don't know. It might be in your house. It could be in mine. But all I know is we are coming to you live on Halloween night because when you listen to this, it will be Halloween. We're recording it. We're
Spooky.
recording on October 30th, which is Mischief Night. So I would love to know if anybody has some good Mischief Night stories in their back pockets. Let us know in the comments. Steven, maybe you can tell me about a funny prank you've had to pull. But enough of the Halloween talk. We'll get to that in a second on this episode of The Slice presented by Betway. We are going to be talking all about the Paris tournament going on right now. We have some serve bots on our hands. We've also had some questionable calls on the court for soon potential hopeful friend of the show, Medvedev. Not for him, but in his matches. We'll get into that. And then, of course, we got to talk about the ATP Finals. And then we got our Smash or Pass segment. Steven, happy Halloween, man.
Happy Halloween, brother. It's getting freaky. It's getting a little weird, as they would say around this time of the year. How are things?
Things are good. Mischief night is probably always my favorite night. I feel like as a kid, we would always hit the ding dong ditch in the neighborhood,
What is it? I
especially.
don't know any of these terms you're saying. Mischief night. I've never heard of that up here. Maybe it's not a thing in Canada, or maybe I'm just not a big Halloween guy, which is also true. And then what's a
Dude,
ding dong ditch?
I cannot wait to show my friends this. Ding dong ditching is when you go to somebody's house, ring their doorbell, and run away.
Oh yeah, I think we call that Nicky Nine Doors. Is that the same thing?
I guess so.
Are we
Well,
from the same planet? Like, or is this like, are our countries that different? Where it's Nicky Nine Doors? I think you would run and knock on 9 different doors and just like run down the street.
I like that. I like I like it having a standard of 9 doors. Ours is just free roam until you either get bored or one person gets caught. That person's usually the slowest person in the friend group.
Jeepers. I'd be worried to do that in the U.S. Like some guy's gonna come off his front porch blasting. Like you're like, it's like way more high stakes down there. I feel like.
Yeah, I mean it's one of the definitely in the South for sure, but it's one of the reasons I hate Shark Tank so much. Is
Okay.
because the Ring doorbell got pitched. Well, I guess they got denied on Shark Tank, so maybe I do like Shark Tank. But the Ring doorbells were pitched on Shark Tank. The Sharks denied them. They were looking out for the citizens of America that enjoy ding dong ditching and pranking people.
Right.
Ultimately, we all know Ring ends up winning. They become $1 billion company, and we
Yeah.
all lose out on the fun.
The middle class gets eroded further.
Dude, I mean, that would be a great platform for a president to run on. Just a piece of it.
That would be someone should do that. I don't think anyone's ever ran off the middle class, flourishing, but someone a politician should definitely try and figure that out
If they were able to figure it out, that would be epic. This will also be our last podcast, I
in a free
believe.
country.
Yeah. Our last podcast before America goes to war for our next president. So this a lot of good things going on right now.
Let's talk about our weeks now, because depending on how the election goes, not a politics podcast, but it could be a little bit weird asking about JP about how his week's gone next week. So
Yes.
yeah, how was your week, JP?
My week was good. It was busy because if you follow me on Twitter, we've gone public with this vending machine business. I know I brought it up before on here, but I reached out to the good people of the internet on LinkedIn and Twitter. I've been holding off on Instagram because the support on it and the people that are willing to help out and try to get me and my business partner Danny connected to people has been incredible, to the point where it's almost overwhelming. And I say that in the best way possible. Like that is the exact problem you'd want to have. But it's a lot going on. My phone, my computer screens, obviously my full-time job. I have to be on my phone and in front of my screens a lot. So then throwing that in the mix can get a little wild. But I
Yeah.
have an awesome cat in the hat costume that I actually wish I would have worn on this podcast. But that's kind of been keeping my spirits up for my week. Steven,
That's
what's going on with
awesome.
your week?
Entrepreneurship, Halloween costume. Proud of you, dude, for doing that. That's very cool.
Mhm.
My week was we traveled. We did our first road trip with our son Shepherd up to the interior of British Columbia. So we took literally it's like a 2-hour ferry ride from the island that I live
Oh,
on to the mainland, and then we drove 4 hours. And I almost ran out of gas on the way to where I was going. Like you drive literally into the Canadian, not the Rockies, but like these big mountain range, and it's our first trip. So I'm like, we got to stop every kind of like every little bit to, have him feed, get him changed, things like that. It's, a little stressful. And I was
mhm.
like, oh, we got to get gas. We're going to do that at the next stop. And there's like a stop at the bottom of the hill. And then there's a stop at like the top of this like passage we're going through. It's called the Coquihalla. You can look it up. There's literally roads. There's shows on the Discovery Channel about this highway and others in Canada. But this one's called. You could look it up, JP. You'd be into this. This one's called Highway from Hell. It's about truckers driving through this passage that I've driven through like hundreds of times in my life because it's between Kamloops and Vancouver essentially. Um, but I could pass Hope and I forget to get gas. And I'm literally halfway between Hope and Merritt, and I go, oh my gosh! I look at the car and it's like we got 2 bars, and the range says like 55 kilometers or something. And I'm looking at Merritt, which is the next gas station, and it's like 70 kilometers away, all uphill. And I'm like, I do not want to turn around back to Hope, to Merritt, or to Hope because blah, whatever. So I ended up just continuing on and seeing if I would make it. And I'm like putting it in neutral and like rolling down hills when we get to them. And you go into Merritt and you like roll into this hill. Anyways, we made it. But you know what they say? It's like the man's job is always have like gas in the tank. That's like the number one. Just have
Right.
gas in the tank. And my dad has always said, he's like, hey, anytime the gas gets to like half, just fill it up. And it was like, oh, I'm too lazy, right? Or I'm always in a rush. So it's like, that bit me in the ass. But, thankfully, my wife was a good sport. It was actually kind of funny. We're like, oh, are we going to break down the side of this like crazy mountain pass? But didn't happen. So we survived. We had a good trip up there with my parents. And other than that, I've just been watching the tennis in Paris, which has been, like we'll get into, good. Sinner's unfortunately not there. He's sick.
Mhm.
Or other things are going on potentially. Maybe here's a rumor, total rumor, unfounded rumor, not claiming it to be true at all, but maybe WADA, who is investigating his case right now, tapped him on the shoulder, said, hey Yannick, we're gonna put out a decision here, and it would probably be better for you to not be playing when we do that. So maybe that's happening. I have no clue. Again, not making any accusations or speculations or claims to be true or representing that the thing I just said was in fact true. But it could be happening. Or he's sick, like he said he is. Djokovic is also not in Paris.
Mhm.
Carlitos Alcaraz is. Daniil Medvedev was. He's out now. There's been a lot of great matches in Paris, JP, and a lot of great action to be had there as well.
A lot of great action, which has made it difficult, I believe, on the bookies out there. The bookie we use, as difficult as the odds might get, as the matches could get, they will always be there, and there will always be good value, and they will always make it easy. Y'all know I'm talking about Betway, and this is the best bet of the day segment. Look, hitting the ace with Betway and get a free bet up to $200 if your first bet loses, plus $50 bonus spins no matter the result. So, guys, what they're basically telling you is you get a free bet up to $200 if your first bet loses, aka no sweat bet. That's all you got to know. You can bet, nothing happens to the bank account, nobody gets mad at you. So really, it's a win-win. But what you got to do, you got to scan the QR code on the screen that we'll have up, or click on the link in the details section to create an account and redeem your welcome offer. The offer is only available for new customers only. So everybody, all the new listeners, this is perfect opportunity for you. All the old listeners that haven't been on Betway yet, this is also the perfect opportunity for you. Terms and conditions apply. Offer not available in Ontario. Sorry, Ontario. Must be 18 and up to play. Please play responsibly.
Responsibly. And that's the
Responsibly is
key
the
word.
key.
Responsibly, you can check out on the Betway feed my picks and tips, which I've been making. I just made one. I put money down. I put money where my mouth is on Grigor Dimitrov versus Artur Rinderknech. This might have actually already happened before this podcast comes out, which is unfortunate, but
Yeah.
they're only showing a day out right now because it's pretty tight. So you just got to follow me on the Betway feed to be up to date with this. But I took Arthur Rinderknech over Dimitrov at plus 325 as the underdog to win because he's got the French crowd behind him. It's crazy in Paris. We just saw Arthur Cazot take out Ben Shelton, American, sorry, JP,
Yep.
in front of the French crowd. That was a lucky loser. So Arthur Cazot was the guy who replaced Yannick Sinner after he had already lost in qualifying. He comes out and beats Ben Shelton in front of so the French crowd goes crazy. Arthur Rinderknech will have him, and Grigor Dimitrov is going to have the pressure of trying to make the ATP Finals. He needs to make the final of Paris to do that. So yeah, I think those two factors result in an upset coming. So yeah, that's my pick here. That's the best bet of the day from my perspective. JP, how does that sound?
It sounds awesome. The match that kind of jumps out to me, and like you said, it is unfortunate that this match will have happened probably after or whenever this episode drops. But Jordan Thompson, it seems like he's been playing really well.
Mm-hmm.
And I have seen that Nick Kyrgios in the latest video he was posting, Jordan Thompson was the guy he was practicing with. Kyrgios had all the good things to say about Thompson, of course, fellow countryman, but that was all pre-Paris. And now to see Thompson playing just as good as Kyrgios was saying,
yeah,
you got to do the research, and the research is kind of tailing Thompson right now.
So you like Thompson against Manarino?
Yeah, like, and I know Manarino. This tournament he's kind of turned it back around. Prior to, yeah, the French, they were balling out. I saw they sucked at the French Open. They're balling out at the Rolex Masters.
Yeah, somehow it doesn't work at the French Open. That doesn't matter. It works in Paris though. Like it's like the indoor kind of like this Masters 1000. It's the last one of the year. People are kind of tired, but in France they pop off. And we'll talk about it later on the show. But these side courts in Paris, they're literally in these little hockey rinks that they've converted to be the side courts, and they're electric. Like you have very packed in. I've been there before, and yeah, I think the French are unbeatable in there. So it depends where they're playing, like what court they're going to be on. But
right,
that's so Jordan Thompson's actually the favorite there at plus 180 or minus 182 is what I'm seeing.
Love that, honestly. And yeah, they are on center court. So I believe those are our best bets of the day. And I think we're both confident. I'm confident in Jordan Thompson winning his next match as well. But just keep an eye on these names.
If you're going to be watching Paris for the rest of this week or the ATP Finals, you need to be watching it on Tennis TV. Tennis TV is that's right. They're a sponsor of the show, and it's the official streaming service of the ATP Tour. It's the only legitimate place to watch ATP tennis. And honestly, if you have $20 a month, which is most people, let's just be honest, watching this is most people. It's like an obvious investment if you're a tennis fan. You can watch any of the matches, all the replays in super high def, and you can scrub through them really nicely. It's the place where I go to watch the match. I don't even watch match highlights. I'll just scrub through the matches to kind of see what happens. And yeah, so click the link below to try it. It helps us out when you check out through the link below. And if you haven't watched it or you haven't subscribed to it yet, I would highly recommend it. It gives you lots of the epic old matches as well. So you're watching like Federer versus Nadal, Miami 2005 epic match. You can find it on YouTube, but it's like usually not the full match, or actually never is the full match. So you can go onto Tennis TV and watch these full matches, these heritage classic matches that are just awesome. So shout out to Tennis TV.
We'll start out with the serve bot, Pericard. The question is Pericard a problem? Yes, he is the problem. Maybe if he doesn't have a nickname, he should nickname himself the problem. Which
he's got enough
names. Nickname.
He's got enough names. Giovanni Impesci Pericard.
I know, right?
The biggest server in the game.
He's got it. Yeah, I would say he is. Do you think he is?
I mean, that's what we're going to talk about because he just won he just won Basel, beating. Let's just walk through the guys he just beat. This man's just beat. Um, Actually, it might be hard to see here, but he beat. I know he beat Felix Auger-Aliassime, who's our
Oh yeah, I
guy,
got you right here. He
Canadian.
he took out. Or do you have it right in front of you or no?
Oh, you got it. You run through him.
Got you.
I'll
He
keep it
took
up from
out
memory.
Duckworth in the first round.
Yep.
Then he beat Felix. Then he beat Dennis.
Yeah.
Then he beat Runa. And then he beat Shelton.
Yeah. That's a guy, and Pesci Pericard is like he only broke it. Like he has. This is really his first year on tour on like the main tour, and he's
Right.
become at this stage like I'll just pull up his ranking. Ooh, voice crack. His let's put it this way: in his career, he's made 1.6 million in in prize money in his entire career, and he's made 1.3 this year. So let's put it that way.
And the best part about it all, he's
What's good?
21.
Yeah. So makes sense. He's 21 years old. He's obviously going to be a fixture, I would say, at the top of the game going forward. And it's crazy if you in like even at the end of or in last year he was ranked outside the top 1,000. He was like in 2022 he was ranked around 700. In 2021 he was ranked around 600. So that's like
Jeez.
super low. Even at different points this year he was ranked outside the top 300. Like if you just go back to even the beginning, the beginning of the year, he was at 200 in the world. So
Imagine
he
just
is. Go ahead.
imagine playing in the ITF like juniors, like the futures tournaments, and he's just across. You see his ranking, you're like, oh, this dude is he's like 700 in the world. So we're probably about even, and then he just starts dominating you.
Dropping
And he's 6'8",
bombs.
so
Dropping bombs. We're gonna get into the bombs, but actually, I was reading the wrong thing there. He was actually his ranking's still been crazy. It's actually been steadily growing so in 2021, I was reading the doubles ranking, which no one cares about. He was 600 in the world in 2021, and then in 2022 he was like 370. 2023 he was like 200, and then this year now he's 48 in the world. But yeah, he did start the year at like 200 in the world. So it's been a great year for him.
good
But
for him.
with a physical specimen like he has, I've seen like this whole year I've been seeing matches of him, and I go, holy crap! Like this guy, he's got the biggest serve on tour. And we'll look into his serving stats because I have stats to back that up. But I saw him at like on the grass, him serving bombs, and you're just like, how do these serves even get returned? But then you saw the rest of his game, and it's a little awkward. He's got a
Yep.
single-handed backhand, he's got a huge forehand. But in Basel, I mean, he was serving bombs and then like returning and coming forward, just coming forward, all downhill, and it's insanely scary. And he won. So guys who serve big and play big have success in the indoor hard courts. We've seen that before, and doesn't necessarily mean that they're gonna go win everything the next year, as we saw with Felix Auger-Aliassime 2 years ago. Tried doing that, won 3 in a row, and it definitely didn't translate to a good year or good 2 years. But very impressive from Pesci Pericard.
Love it. And you're pulling up his serving stats right now. I can unless you have them, I pulled up this list of top 10 servers of all time. This is from Bleacher Report.
Yeah.
So
yeah, who are the top 5? That would be good to know.
So I will give you the top 5, but before I do that, I do want to make note that I got to shout out Roscoe Tanner.
Okay.
And this guy, he was playing, looks like he was peaking like in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s. And he was bombing 153 mile per hour serves. Think about with those rackets. Think about what he would be doing now with these rackets.
That is messed up. I didn't even know that.
And he's 6 feet tall.
Tanner. And he's only 6 feet tall.
Yes.
That is crazy. I actually see him demonstrating his serve in 1991. So this would have been like after he was like retired. Yeah. That is crazy. If those numbers are accurate, like I don't know how they, I guess in the 70s they could put a man on the moon. So it's probably pretty accurate.
Right.
which, a whole nother podcast. They can do that then, but not now. Crazy. It's one of my main wonderings of the world. But Pesci Pericard he's been this week was hitting like 150 miles an hour in Basel, and it's like the way he serves is it's not even like a classic like fully, it's a very nice serving rotation, but it seems like he always hits it out to the side of him and just like slaps it almost like a volleyball spike, and he hits it so hard he doesn't even get the greatest placement on it, but guys are
Right.
like guessing, so it's like almost like a goalkeeper in soccer. They're just like going one way. So the serve could still land like 2 feet in from the sideline and 2 feet in from the service line, and it's like a clean ace because the guy just like is like, I'm not even going to try and turn around and get a racket on that because it's not happening.
It's unreal. The top 5, number 5, they have Andy Roddick.
Okay. And what are they basing this on? Sorry.
It looks like, as much as I can tell, they're going off their like. I mean, I guess it wouldn't be their fastest serve because that guy had a faster one than Roddick. Oh, maybe not. Oh,
Could be like their serve rating.
Yeah. So this for Roddick, like the little bio under it says he held the world record for many years, serving 155-mile-per-hour lightning bolt in the 2004 Davis Cup match. The number 4, Goran Ivanisevic.
You're gonna get killed for that. Goran Ivanisevic, one of the greats of the game. That's right.
So they seem to be giving him a lot of credit for his second serve as well. Pete Sampras, number 3, Karlovic, number 2, and number 1, John Isner.
John Isner, man. That's a great list. Those are guys who have, like Pete Sampras. There's different like,
right.
There's different success in serving. Like he wouldn't have had one of the biggest serves ever. Like a Pesci Pericard's serve is definitely bigger than Pete Sampras's, but they just talk about how like influential the serve was in his game. And Pete Sampras was, I mean, he was one of the greatest of all time as a player in general, not just because of his serve, but his serve was so dominant. He had this sick action on it. And apparently guys just could not read it. And he would obviously come in behind it and volley so well. So it's cool to see him on that list. But it would not shock me if GMP, they should do it like GMP is his initials with a H at the end, like MPH.
Right.
If he worked his way onto that list, it wouldn't surprise me because he's 21 years old. He's winning titles already, and he just went through a great field in Basel, destroying people with his serve, and he just beat Francis Tiafoe in Paris, which again shouldn't be that shocking, I guess, because now he's in the top 50, and Tiafoe can lose to a lot of people, and maybe Giovanni's a clown according to Tiafoe, but I know he apologized for that. But no, I've just been super impressed by Pesci Pericard, but he's a scary player to play. Like he looks scary. He made Felix Auger-Aliassime look small out there and made him look like handcuffed to be like, what am I going to do? I can't. Every single game, this guy's getting 2 aces in, and how do I break him?
Well, you saw when he played Dennis, and Dennis tried to return that one serve, and he just barely got a racket on it, and then he had horrible flashbacks of the ball hitting the umpire.
Yes.
But it just shows that serve. It's like Dennis is legit just reaching out his racket, hoping to get something on it, and then it just flies off of it into the ump.
And that ball hitting the umpire is crazy just because of the whole juju. And you know who was the most savage out of everyone? I think it was like the tennis TV admin, and the description on the video was just like, we've seen this movie before.
Shout out to that person, honestly. That's exactly what you got to do in order to get these views.
Oh my gosh, that was one of the most savage things I've ever seen from like the associations, like admin. It's like so good. It's like fair enough. Like I think Chapo would laugh at that, but we have seen this movie before, and I'm glad they were able to chuckle about it this time. And it was obviously an accident.
Yeah. Do we want to run through his serve stats, or are we?
Yeah. So I got the stats here. So if you look at the serve leaders on the ATP website, Giovanni Pesci Pericard is number 1, and they do that by serve rating. So his serve rating is 300.1. The next person is Alexander Zverev, then Matteo Berrettini, then Hubert Hurkacz, then Jannik Sinner. Actually, shout out Jannik Sinner, greatly improved first serve. Jannik Sinner's serve rating is higher than Ben Shelton's, for example, which is crazy if you think about it. But that takes into account like a lot of different things. So if you go to first, Giovanni also leads the entire tour in what is it? Yeah,
They need
average
him.
aces per match. So he has an average of
Holy.
18.6 aces per match. So that would be, I believe, both Grand Slam and ATP matches, but it might just be actually just ATP matches.
Yeah, it looks like the next closest is at 13.8 aces per
Yeah,
match.
which is a lot low. That's like five. That's a whole service game difference
Yeah.
between first and second place.
Wow.
So yeah, like I think obviously he doesn't have the skill or like the total game as a lot of the other players, so he's not going to win all these stats. One stat that did surprise me, and I mentioned this on Twitter, was first serve points won, which is a super key stat in every player.
Right.
The tour leader of it, Grigor Dimitrov, at 79.4%. I did not expect that. Did you?
Not at all. And you just even looking at that list, you go down like the top 10 even.
Yeah.
Djokovic out there at 12. Yeah, these are interesting. I like where was the one I was just at? The percentage of service games won, Sinner 91.2%.
Yeah. And that one is like, well, that's why Sinner's been so good on the hard courts, I think. Because like
Right.
you look at all the other players behind him, and they're all just big servers, like Berrettini, Zverev, Hurkacz, Shelton, Pesci, Pericard is sick.
All
So
extremely tall people.
yeah, and then Sinner, who is also kind of low key, really tall. He's
Yeah.
also from the baseline is the best player in the world as well. So that's why it's like he's so hard to beat right now, is because of how good his serve has become, shown by these stats, and then the rest of his game backs it up. Like Alcaraz isn't on
R-
many of those lists, except
Right.
for after second serve points won. He's the number one player in the tour on second serve points won. So don't put any dirt on his name, because that's don't worry about it. He might not have the biggest serve, but he's coming for you in the rallies, and he's gonna make you feel sick.
And it looks like in a lot of these, I know we can get off these stats, but in a lot of them in that 10, maybe 9 to 15 range, a name I keep seeing is Rublev. And I feel like we should touch on a little bit because he's going viral again for smacking his knee, getting injured, drawing blood.
Yes,
What are
as
we
the
what are
tennis
we gonna do
league,
with him?
we've seen this movie before. Let's just put it that way.
We've been having hella reruns in tennis recently.
Hella reruns. And you, I believe, said on the last, when we did a smash or pass about, Rublev's self-harm, you said smash it. I think you said I love it.
I did say that,
Word. Do you still stand
but
behind that?
word. Um, after seeing this one, I did get a little bit more concerned because I felt like after the first three, like legit, when I'm watching the clip, I think I saw the first three, picked my head up and looked at something, looked back down, and he was still hitting his leg. And I was like, okay, maybe this is the issue because if you stop at three, it's like, all right, we're all good. But the fact that it was still going on when I looked back down, I got a little bit more concerned for him.
Like, it literally looks like he's trying to chop his leg off. And I'm like,
Yeah.
bro, I'm sure you'd still be a good wheelchair tennis player, but like you're gonna need that thing. And after he got asked about it in Montreal, he gets asked about it a lot, but he had a really good
Yeah.
speech, and we posted that. He talked about his mental health struggles in the past, and he felt like even in the last few months he'd been overcoming that and working with someone to kind of get better at controlling his emotions on court. But a little bit of a relapse here, I think, for sure, which you can forgive for. We've all, everyone struggles, but it's hard to watch. And yeah, I hate seeing that now. It's a bit like disturbing.
Yeah. It's kind of past like the fun. This is you just lashing out thing. It's like, all right, maybe we look into this.
Yeah, maybe let's take a pause here. But anyways, he loses. So Rublev loses. So I guess that brings us to our next
Right.
uh, point of who deserves to make the ATP Finals. And deserves is obviously a weird word, because like it's going to be whoever has the most points. The top 8 guys are going to get in there. I did see one tweet from, I'm forgetting his name now. I forget his name. It'll come to me. But he said it's kind of funny how Djokovic just like accidentally made the ATP finals this year without even trying at all. He like played half the events and just gets into the ATP finals, and all these other guys are like scrapping and clawing their way to try and do it. Isn't that funny?
Dude, it is hilarious. And just the ultimate dream life of an older athlete. Like, LeBron wishes he could just play 30 games and then go and be ready for the playoffs.
Yes.
Basketball, it ain't like that. Tennis, Djokovic has earned himself the luxury of getting to do just that, which I wonder though. I mean, he probably wants to play it because it does seem like an awesome production of an event, and the matches are always really fun. But I do wonder if there's part of him that's like, God dang it, like I'm not even trying to be in this.
Yeah, he's like, I just want to be skiing with my kids.
Right.
Because I don't know why he pulled out of Paris. Like, it doesn't seem to me to be like I'm preparing for the ATP finals. It's more like I just don't
Right.
want to be there. And these are mandatory events, like mandatory, but like, what's the ATP tour going to do at the end of the day?
Yeah.
Like, they're going to be, we're going to fine you $50,000 for not showing up. He's like,
Here you go.
dang it. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, well, I think he'll play. I think he, winning, I think he still wants to play because I don't think there's like a medium level of him for like, I'm just going to have the gas on half full, although it might have looked like it that way. I think he still wants to set more records. And I think the ATP finals winning it again for him would mean something because I think he's at 7 now, and winning 8 would make him clear or well clear of Federer. So I'm not sure
Yeah.
what his motivations are there, but he's going to be there. But the other guys who are trying to get there. So right now, the current race to Turin, which is like points from this year, Sinner's like way ahead of everyone, like 10,000. Carlos is
Yeah.
next 6,800. Zverev's next 6,400. Then Medvedev, then Fritz, then Djokovic at 6. Then Casper Ruud at 3,855. Rublev at 3,720. Demon Hour, who's still in Paris, at 3,645. This is the last tournament to get points. So Demon Hour is trying to make a run for it. Casper Ruud and Andre Rublev both lost, so they're kind of they're waiting. They're in the clubhouse waiting to see what happens. And Dimitrov's still in. He's at 3,240. So he'd have to again get to the final or win to be in for sure. And then even Tommy Paul lost, so I think he's he's out.
Right.
But I guess from my question is, from your this year, who's been having a good year and kind of deserves to make it? Because from my perspective, Casper Ruud's had a bad year, hasn't been living up to what he's done in the past. He's made it in the past. He's deserved to be there in the past. Kind of been going on the upward trajectory. Feels like he's kind of coming on the downward a bit.
Right.
But he might still make it. So what do you think about the other players?
The number one name that jumps out for me is Demon Hour because I feel like he has been in so many. He's been playing so late in the Grand Slams, and then an injury happens. He'll get late in tournaments, an injury happens, and it's he's in great shape. He's playing awesome, and it's truly just these couple injuries that without him, he's probably has already clinched his spot in the last 8. So he's the number one guy for me, and I feel like he'll probably get in. I think he'll win a couple more matches here.
Yeah. No, I like that because I agree. Like, he's been great in 2024, and the injuries have kept him back. So it's kind of it's like a good vibes check for him to be able to get in, and it would be his first time. So you'd love to see that rather, and I think the ATP finals, it's a little bit about momentum in your career. Like, if you've had your best year in 2024, you like to see those guys get into it rather than guys, honestly, like Djokovic or Ruud, who are not having their best year at all, but they're still kind of getting in just because of, it's not like they are less deserving. Obviously, their average level is higher, but you like to see these guys who are having a better kind of career year in 2024 get in, like Demon Hour. And then also for me, it would be Dimitrov. He's been in the finals before. Actually won the ATP finals in 2017 in his best year on tour, but he's obviously gone through it between now and then. But he's been having a great 2024, and he's played awesome tennis. He's looked good. He's also struggled with injuries throughout. Like, he'll do great in a tournament and then pull something. I believe it was the U.S. Open, right? He just had to walk around. He couldn't even serve.
Yeah.
So, I think he would have won that match. I believe that was against, I forget who that was against now. It was against Poprin. or Tiafo. Actually, I think it was actually against. Um, so yeah, I feel like he's deserved it this year. He's had a great year, and I'm hoping like he'd have to do, he'd have to kind of go crazy in Paris, but it's not like he hasn't done it before. He's won a Masters 1000 before. So Grigor, I did pick him on the Betway best bets of the day to lose, but that's separate. That's not has nothing to do with what I would like to see happen, which I would like to see him make it to the final and make the ATP Finals.
Right.
But it's not going to be easy. But he is. Um, where is he? He's on the bottom half, so he would have to go through Rinderknech, then he'd have to go through Popper or Hachinov, then he'd have to go through Alcaraz, and then probably Zverev or Demonauer or someone like that. Yeah. So, anyways,
Yeah.
might be a little tough, but we'll see.
And then something on Casper Ruud too. I know we were just talking about it. He was saying something, I believe, on John Isner in them's podcast. And I really appreciated it because I was trying to search up the quote here, but I don't know if I can find it that fast. But he was talking about how frustrating it is to hear players consistently complain about like injuries or like the balls that are being played. And he was just basically like, you could tell he's just kind of sick of all the buzz around. He's like, guys, like, please just shut up about the balls and go play. Like, if you have an issue with it, go out to the practice courts, practice more with them, and just play tennis. Like, you're making this way more complicated than it actually is. And I was like, thank you for somebody for saying this.
Yeah, because again, back to the Ben Rothenberg interview, tennis is a bit soft. You got these top guys who are making like millions every year in prize money, being like, the schedule is too long. It's like, again, we like the PTBA. We want the players to have a good rap, but at the end of the day, anyone who's making a ton of money in any career in the world is working long hours and is sacrificing a lot to do it. So yeah, well, obviously, it would be great for the players to play for 5 months of the year and make the same amount of money. But if you want to play for less time, you're probably going to end up making less money because that's just how life works. And then with the balls thing, it's like the balls thing. I get the complaints, but I think his point is more like, look, I like the balls haven't been great, but complaining about it when you're like in the quarterfinals of a tournament, that doesn't make sense because you've been playing with these balls for like a week and a half at this point.
Yeah.
It's not new. So like he's saying it's a bit disingenuous and it's like an excuse almost for these players like losing later on in a tournament. So I agree with that from him for sure.
I have it right here. I'll just read the first few sentences where he says, for me, what's funny is some players come like 5 days in advance to practice, and I do it myself a lot of times too. Unless you're going from tournament to tournament, they'll string like 28 rackets to get the right tension. Then they get to the fourth round and start complaining about the balls, but it's been the same balls for the past 9 days. What's the point of bringing it up now?
Yeah, that's a great point. Well, the point is like everyone needs an excuse when they lose or whatnot. It's like an easy thing to talk about. But Casper, he's like that. He's a bit of a realist. He's had some fire quotes lately. Like he's a bit of a good interview. He is a friend of the show. We had a great interview. We talked about. I don't know. Have you ever watched our interview, JP?
I have. He said, Casper, they call you the cat. Is it because your footwork? Is it because that I watched the interview?
Thank you, sir. Like he's a bit of he's Norwegian, a little cold. Like he admitted that in Norway, it's like normal for you to walk by each other and just not acknowledge people on the street, like even in small towns, which is weird, of course. But so he's a little bit cold to warm, and then he starts talking about golf and he starts like blabbering on, like it's great. But he's a bit of a realist, which I like. He talks when he won the tournament in Gstaad, which I was at in Switzerland. He made the joke. He's like, I might have to move here from Norway because you guys' tax scenario. Like he's like, look, I'm a professional tennis player. I'm here to make money. Let's make it happen. And he's losing lots right now, but you don't hear him complaining about the balls. So I respect that.
We need the tennis players to release their tax returns, then we can rank them off tax returns, which this is complete side note, but I'm reading Elon Musk's biography, and a couple, like maybe it was in 2021, he paid the most taxes in human history. He paid like $12 billion in taxes, and it was enough to fund the SEC, the government organization, for 5 years. One, I'm like, that's absurd that only funds it for 5 years. And two,
yeah.
paying the most amount of taxes in human history is got to be the worst flex of all time.
Yeah. Is that the actual number, or did you? Or were you just like throwing out a massive number?
It's around. It is. It's like I'm like within 5 billion.
Just with plus or minus 5 billion.
You got to
But yeah,
understand, bro. The way the U.S. debt works, that's how we view the billions and trillions.
uh, you guys are like, we're not paying this back ever, but it's like plus or minus 100 million or 100 billion.
Right.
Like,
I love those. I love those tweets. It's like the U.S. debt has now hit 37 trillion. Someone's like, who do we owe? Thanos?
That's a great question. I don't know. I was just listening to the Tim Dillon podcast with JD Vance on it.
Yeah.
Crazy podcast you should listen to. But it's not good. You got to spend less money than you make. That's like the key financial advice that's out there. And apparently the US isn't doing that. So
we don't do that.
Canada's also not doing it because we got a crazy prime minister, but that's changing soon. And I think it's also going to change soon in the US as well.
Let's go. Somebody who's not changing is Medvedev. He had his match versus Popyrin.
What a segue.
This time it wasn't. Medvedev was not the upset one, but because of this line call, everybody was talking about it on Twitter. Steven, I'll let you explain the actual play to the people that might not have seen it. You'll be able to do it better.
Yes. Well, it was late in the match, I believe. I believe it was in the third set for Popyrin versus Medvedev, and I think it was like break point or something for one of the guys. And there's a good volley. They come to net. Popyrin lobs Medvedev, and the ball lands on the edge of the line. It's in, but it was called out by the line judge because they still have line judges in Paris, I believe, or like I didn't see it. Yeah, no, they definitely do. Which is for some reason, it's the French, whatever. So then then Popyrin challenges it, and then they show that the ball was in, but Medvedev was there to play it, but he was in such a bad position. Like Popyrin was very, very likely going to win that point. So then they show that the ball was actually in, even though it was called out, and Popyrin's just like livid. And he's kind of like fuming at the umpire, even though the umpire agrees with him that it sucks, but he can't do anything. Like he can't just award the point to Popyrin because Medvedev still had a play on it. But Popyrin was just like, then after that point, he won the next point, and he like instantly like flexed at the line judge, and for the rest of the match was just like giving it to the line judge, and just like when he won the match, he ends up like celebrating and just like staring down the lines person, which. Yeah, it was we'll get to it. We'll do a smash for pass on that, but it's like it was pretty intense. But I get it in the heat of the moment. You're like any adversary you can pick out, you will, to bring the most savage response out of yourself. But that was crazy.
I love it. And then Medvedev had another classic moment after whatever point it was. He was upset, but in the fun Medvedev way of being upset, and he just throws his racket into the air really high, and he's coming down and he goes to catch it, but he whiffs it and it just like nicks his nose on the way down. He just kind of stares at it, picks it up, and I'm just like, God, this is when I would pay so much to have these guys mic'd up or just get like some inner dialogue, because he's either laughing or he's just fuming on the inside.
Did he make any? He said I didn't see it. Did he just stare at the racket on the ground?
Yeah, it was not for like a long time, but he kind of had that smirk on his face of like that's pretty funny that just happened to me, and it was like a story of my life. Like everything in this match, of course this would happen.
Of course this would happen. That's fair enough. Yeah, no, he would be the guy who would want the mic that the most. And the ATP Tour has done a good job of that. Like they have like the mics. They essentially have the players mic'd up at the changeover. So whenever they're arguing with the ump, you can hear it, which is great stuff. He's the king of that, of course. He's the quote king. The GOAT quote is what I said. I think on the last time we were talking about him. I did email or DM. I DM'd his agent on Twitter, who had previously responded to me on Twitter. I don't know why, but I did it from my from the Slice account.
Mhm.
I did it when I was in Montreal. I was like, hey, does Danil have time this week? And he goes, no, sorry, but thanks for reaching out. So he actually responded, which is good. And then this time he hasn't responded, but maybe in the
Yeah,
off season would be like the time we're going to get him.
for sure.
We
Best
can
sign about
outspeed him on a
that
lot of things.
the best sign about that is that you're officially not in the message request folder. So
Right.
there's a blue you're getting whenever you send a message, they're seeing that blue dot. So
Right.
progress has
Right.
been made.
That's right. It's all about the progress. Make that progress. Yeah, but that was the crazy match. Popyrin versus Medvedev. Medvedev out. So if we're going to talk about progress, we might as well look at the draw.
Yep.
Artur Cazot is on the top versus. So this is the round of 16.
Mhm.
I just want to talk about it as far as the structure in general, because Medvedev was on the bottom half, on the Alcaraz half, which we talked about was a huge deal for him because he's always been on the Sinner top half, which is very funny now because Sinner doesn't end up showing up due to illness, so Medvedev wouldn't have had to play him. So now Medvedev loses to Popyrin, and he probably would have lost to Alcaraz. No offense, but yeah. So Alcaraz is still alive on the bottom. Zverev is the top seed on the top. He's the third seed. He's still alive. But it's a pretty open tournament. Last Masters of the year, we've seen crazy
Yeah.
winners in the past, like Ben Rothenberg, who absolutely buried Jack Sock on our interview about after
Craziest
Jack Sock
Dre.
after he won Paris Bercy in 2017. He absolutely shot the bed after that in his career, which is true. Okay, we got some smash or pass now, I believe. JP, is that
Yes.
where we were headed next?
Smash or pass, which you know what? Just because the vibes are good and it's Halloween, I am making Smash or Pass sponsored by Tennis TV.
Come on.
So this is the Smash or Pass presented by Tennis TV. Shout out Tennis TV. Something, if you are going to download or sign up for Tennis TV right now, the highlights you will be seeing will be a lot of serves because of the Frenchman Pericard, who we spoke about earlier in the episode.
Yeah.
But Steven, smash or pass watching serve bots?
I'm going to pass. In general, it sucks. Everyone knows that. Riley Opelka, one of the founding fathers of the serve bots, agrees that it sucks to watch him play tennis, but it doesn't always. So there's like, the matchups make the and the moment makes it where you're like, how is Djokovic going to figure out this serve bot, or how is Sinner going to figure out returning the serve bot? So it can be good, but most of the time it sucks. So I'm going to pass on watching serve bots.
Yeah.
How about you?
100% agree with you. Also love what you said. If you are a player and going up against one of these guys, I know that probably the first reaction is deep breath, sigh. Oh my God, this is going to be a problem. But what an opportunity, and what a thing that separates the greats from the people that are just good. Because if you can figure out somebody with a weapon like that, you're setting yourself up for a lot of success.
Correct. Okay, smash or pass, JP, indoor tennis.
Pass. As much as I love, that was completely, I said it so wrong. I meant to say smash. Smash.
I just
As,
completely misspoke.
as much as I love the outdoors and all outdoor sports, there is something about student sections, crowds, the intimacy of a indoor court for any sport, hockey, like it's just so much more personal. The I just love the relationship between the fans, the players in the court and the arena. So I'm all about indoor tennis. Give us more.
I agree with you. Smash on indoor tennis. I love playing it. I hate being out in the weather. Like, oh, it rains on you halfway through your match. It's like literally kill me. And then, or it's windy. It's like you're having to play through that. There's a vibe. I like to try and be an optimist in the world, but if I could just choose playing indoor, no excuses, limits the excuses. I'll still find them if I lose, but it limits them in
Right.
general. And there is a vibe though, outdoor, shirt off, sun, grinding, channeling Rafa Nadal early 2000s. But in general, love indoor tennis. What do we got
Yes.
next, JP?
Next up, we have similar to what we were just talking
Similar.
about. Smash or pass the Paris hockey rink court. Steven, smash or pass?
Mega Smash. Mega Smash. Talked about it earlier. It's one of the most electric courts in tennis. It's probably the most intimate court because it's like a low ceiling kind of as well. It's kind of weird. And you're just right there. So yeah, huge smash. What about
Yeah,
you?
it feels like the Paris hockey rink courts. I feel like you get to watch a match the same way that that you're able to watch the players practice at
Yes.
tournaments. Like that's how up close and personal it feels. Canada, y'all got to figure out a hockey rink court.
Oh, I know. At the National Bank Open, one of them. They're both outdoor tournaments. So
Right.
I don't know how to do that, but it would be great to have. They could probably just make some decorations around some of these side courts at the Montreal, Toronto venues because some of them are smaller where the people are right along the edge. But I think to make it really seem like a hockey, the other thing that Paris has down, even on the main court in Paris, is they have the fans right down at court level
Yeah.
behind the court, which is awesome. So you'd have to have that scenario, which you could do. It just takes some planning. So yeah, we got to figure that out because hockey is hockey rink vibes and hockey in general are great. Sidebar: I was watching hockey. I was up in Kamloops this week. This should have been my week. I was watching the Kamloops Blazers, the greatest junior hockey franchise in the world.
Let's go.
They had a great win. They're in a rebuilding phase, but great vibes up here when you're watching hockey.
Quick, just to let our imaginations go real quick.
Yeah.
Imagine if we did have an indoor tennis arena and it was exclusive to this arena at whatever location it is, but they put up the glass like they have in hockey. And when a player is running to try to get to a ball that was maybe hit cross court or they got lobbed and they're running back and the fans can bang on the glass just like they do in hockey when the puck comes by them.
Yeah.
That could be epic.
It would be even more electric. And then if you let the ball bounce off the glass and you can still play it, then you're essentially playing paddle tennis.
Which, yeah, padel, whatever the people call it. I got to get in on that action because it looks
feel like
so
Americans
fun.
would love that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely
It's huge in Europe. It's crazy. Like they're, how those memes is like the European mind can't comprehend this. I love those.
Yeah.
I love those both ways where it's like someone like it's like a beach full of like in shape people and it's like the American mind can't comprehend this.
The southern culture can never comprehend this. Oh,
That's
last
good
one.
stuff. Yeah, making a shortened tennis season. JP, smash or pass?
So I know we've pretty much smashed, or no, I guess we did pass the first one. I'm kind of a halfway smash and pass on this because the entertainment is nice as a fan to have, but less events could be good. So maybe the actual duration isn't shortened. I do think they should get longer breaks. When those breaks happen, that's a whole other conversation. But it's not like they can gain an advantage by playing in a lot of these like dead spots of other sports. So maybe shorten the amount of tournaments, but you could still span it over a decent period of time.
Yeah.
So I'm smushing.
You're smushing?
Not smashing it. I'm just light
fair
smush.
Enough. I like it. Well, I'm passing it because I've been thinking about this and I've always been like, yeah, I want to have but it's like, as a media company, we want to be able to talk about tennis for a longer time. So it helps us. And we're not getting paid millions yet, like the players. And if I'm a player, you can just play less. It's like, you don't have to shorten your season or make their less tournaments. You can just play less tournaments. Then they're like, well, your ranking will slip. Well, just win more tournaments. Like Djokovic, case in point, played like 5 tournaments this year and is in the ATP Finals. So you just got to be better if you're complaining about the calendar. So I don't want to shorten it. Fans, we want to be able to watch tennis 10 months of the year. That's why it is the way it is.
Power follows the finger,
money.
the pointing finger. The players are pointing at the ATP Tour. That's who has the power. Like you just said, you're pointing to Djokovic. Djokovic points at himself. he has the power. He doesn't have
Mm.
to do all these events. Power follows the pointer. So tennis players, think about who you're pointing at and who you should be pointing at.
Wow. What a profound way to end this episode from JP. Another quote from the mind of someone who's really got a grasp on what it means to be motivated, focused, and driven in this world.
Come on, I appreciate that. What an episode. Obviously I love every episode, but I really love this one. Halloween. I feel like we covered a lot of fun things.
Yeah.
And what momentum we have going into November, which is also closing in on one of the best months ever. So thank you to everybody that's listening. Make sure you also subscribe. Steven, I'll let you close it out for good.
Well, yeah, you're right. We're going into November. It's the end of the season. It's also my birthday month. I'm turning 30. We're going buck wild up here in Canada. JP's invited to the party if you want to fly in.
Go.
We're actually renting out a penthouse in Victoria here and like literally doing like a Mad Men themed birthday party.
Old fashions for days.
Yeah, we're making old fashions. We're making whatever people want. Just straight up dry martinis. Like they're gonna taste gross. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
And this penthouse is like on the water, like looking over the harbor in Victoria. Anyways, that's me. That's the slice. That's the podcast. Appreciate JP. Appreciate everyone watching. Smash the links down below. Check out us on the Betway feed and subscribe to Tennis TV through our link. It'll help you out and it'll help us out. Thanks for being here. If you're still watching, we will see you next time here on the slice.